Special rapporteur on torture, Alice Edwards, has called on countries across the world to fundamentally rethink their approach to addressing sexual violence in wartime and other security crises. In her report to the UN General Assembly, the expert argued that the legal framework for torture and other cruelty offers substantial advantages over current approaches to combating sexual violence, particularly for victims and survivors. Mamadi Baro has more details of that.
Currently, more than 100 armed conflicts are reportedly raging worldwide, devastating communities, winding back development, and leading to grave violations of human rights. The prohibition of torture is a peremptory norm in public international law, meaning that it is forbidden under all circumstances as well as by international treaties such as the United Nations Convention Against Torture. Ranging from severe beatings to sexual humiliations and rape, torture is widely used as a means of war, and it often involves the use of tools or instruments, mock executions, and forcing victims to watch family members also being tortured. Torture happens in both official detention centers as well as secret sites, away from any scrutiny. Briefing journalists in New York, special rapporteur on torture has urged states worldwide to fundamentally rethink their approach in addressing sexual violence in wartime and other security crises by leveraging the robust legal framework surrounding torture, adding that sexual torture is not only committed against women and girls.
It is that sexual torture is not only committed against women and girls. They still bear the great brunt of this. But recent conflicts have provided ample evidence to show that men and boys, as well as persons of LGBTIQ backgrounds, are also affected, children included, as well as soldiers and civilians. So the torture framework is not an exclusive framework, it is an inclusive framework, and therefore we should see the proper accounting for such crimes.
Torture is unequivocally prohibited under international law. Neither superior orders nor any form of amnesty can justify it. The United Nations has condemned torture from the outset as one of the vilest acts perpetrated by human beings on their fellow human beings. Alice Edwards also emphasizes that sexual violence crimes are either underreported or underinvestigated, and that is because of the shame and stigma attached to these violations.
Sexual violence crimes are either underreported or under-investigated is because of the shame and stigma attached to these types of violations. And what is very liberating about calling these violations torture is that there is no shame in torture. Victims of torture do not feel shamed. The community does not shame victims of torture. Often they are embraced by the community as survivors of the conflict, as heroes, etc. So in reframing sexual violence as sexual torture, I believe this will redirect that shame from the victims to where it should belong, which is on the perpetrators.
The UN expert also highlighted the importance of best practices in evidence gathering and investigations, as well as the need for well-funded, accessible rehabilitation programs. Special rapporteurs are part of what is known as the Special Procedures of Human Rights Council. This is the largest body of independent experts in the UN human rights system, and it is the general name of the Council's independent fact-finding and monitoring mechanisms that address either specific country situations or thematic issues in all parts of the world. Torture is the deliberate infliction of severe pain or suffering on a person for reasons including punishment, extracting a confession, interrogation for information, or intimidating third parties. Reporting for Eyeafrica News, I am Mamadi Baro.